What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Zebec today, ZBCN. It is the 21st day of December, and here we are sitting at about $0.0028 right now with 4 hours and 30 minutes left in the day. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. Let's get into it, okay? So we have pulled back a little bit, and I think that was expected. Finally, we got a call right. You know, for a while we had some pretty accurate calls with ZBCN, and really since the 21st, every move up and down has just been throwing me for a spin. When I think we're breaking out to the upside, we pull back. When I think we're breaking out to the downside, we pull back. But finally, we broke that spree, that dry spell, and we got one right here. We're finding resistance right here at 0032. We look at this from a point of a high to a low here, and that's right at your 382. 0032 at your 382 resistance. I mean, prior price has found resistance here as well, right? We found support here back in the day as well, so it makes sense that we'd stop there. We probably do continue to push higher after this, right? Going from your 382 to your 236 and then up is actually somewhat common. And here you went from your 0.5 all the way down to your 069. That's a little bit uncommon. But what we're doing here, we're looking for a move that will take us up to the golden ratio. Ultimately, I think what we're going to have is a little bit of a lower price, maybe today or tomorrow. And then we continue to rally up to 004, 0044, something like that. I very much am expecting that this is a higher low here that we will progress from and break out of this downtrend with. You know, this trend here has been kind of slowly shifting, right? When we break it, I think we're going to get a move like this. It's not going to be a slow move up, anything like that, right? It's going to be just like a sudden shift that I think takes us up to this 004 area. I'm talking about, man, in one day, maybe not one day from here, but in 1 day, 2 days, you're going to get a move that takes you right up to this area. It's going to be a nice, fun time for a little bit. I would assume that probably happens in the first week of January, maybe the very last week of December. We'll see. Until then, we'll just be loading up for that move, and then whenever it happens, 004 to 0044, that is the target area to assume. Looking at the 1 hour time frame, we'll zoom out from there. And let's put you on something with some volume, right? Buy bit here. Yes, there we go. Not a lot of volume on this drop at all. ABC corrections are very common. An ABC correction would be like this, ABC. And if we were to drop that low, it's possible and it's okay. I want to see from a high here to a low here. 382 down to our 236. Would that happen? If we were to see an ABC correction, we could go a little bit below the 236. It's not uncommon to reject your 382, wick a little bit below the 236. I mean, that could happen. And then in the context of this potential ABC correction, if we're looking for some symmetry here, going down to like 00268, that's fair. Prior resistance, prior support there. Maybe even all the way down to 0026 itself. That could happen. That'd be a little bit far away from the 236, but we are in kind of unorthodox territory here. From a low to a high, your 236 there is right at your 0.5, and just below, if we were to do an ABC correction, your golden ratio is right there. So I do like that. I do like that 00265 to 00275 area. That's what I would expect. Again, we're at 00281 right now. I would think we move down to 00275 to 00265, somewhere in that range, before moving higher. And we will move higher. I fully expect that we will. You are picking up volume a little bit, right? Like, not a whole lot of volume here. Volume was dying, but as we're moving down now, volume is technically picking up. It's not crazy, but I'm not expecting a crazy move. We're just expecting a little bit of symmetry and then up. So this is fair. I think this looks appropriate. Looking at the 1 hour RSI, we are at the oversold zone, the same areas that we typically bounce, so I could be wrong here, definitely. Maybe we bounce a little bit and then we come back down. Something like that could happen. Overall, the RSI to me does look bearish, but we are at areas that we've bounced from before. Still a little bit lower, might not be completely uncalled for. Stochastics look bearish. Yeah. And then the MACD is also bearish. You're building bearish momentum as you're crossing below the zero. If we look at the 4 hour time frame, you've got higher lows and higher highs on your trend here. That's nice, not bad. But typically you do look to bounce off the 50. That doesn't mean you have to bounce off it. I mean, here you bounce just above the 50. Here you bounced right off it. Neither of those attempts worked for you all that well. You don't necessarily respect the 50 to a T, but more or less you do. You could bounce here. But with that being said, you could go a little bit lower too and still bounce. So either I'm wrong, Either I'm wrong and we bounce right here, this is the low, and we move up from here, which to me seems a bit odd because we're below the 382 and we've closed below it. Or more likely, more probably, we go to that 0075 to 0065 area. That's the expectation. Stochastics suggests that we would go lower, though to be fair, we are at a point to bounce there. MACD, if it crosses, would suggest that we go lower, but if we bounce here, this is actually a good area to bounce when your tips are about to touch or about to cross, and then you shift back to the upside. I just don't think it's going to happen. I do think that we go a little bit lower. And also, on this 1 hour time frame, it's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird shape, but I noticed it. I just forgot to mention it. It's like we have a head and shoulders pattern, and I want to measure that real quick. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why the internet is being so slow. Maybe I have to use a different tab. We're going to use a different tab. That's what we're going to do. Yeah. That one's still loading. Oh, there we go. Now it's fast. We're going to use this one though, because this tab didn't let me down. If this is a head and shoulders, do you see it? It's kind of like a witch's hat. Right? It's one of those. It's a witch's hat. If this is a head and shoulders, the proper way to measure the pattern is you take the high to the low of the pattern. It's slanted. It is slanted, but slanted head and shoulders patterns do exist. The breakout would be here. That move would take us all the way down to 0025. I don't know if we see that. It looks like a head and shoulders pattern. The volume profile's not right. It's not appropriate technically. I don't know. Maybe it's not a head and shoulders. Maybe it's just an ABC. And again, if it is an ABC correction, the expectation should be something more or less around here, which would be 00265. Right at the golden. That's literally right at the golden ratio of this low to high move here. It's right there. So that's kind of the expectation. Looking at the daily time frame here, zooming out, again, a little consolidation here. The difference being from this high, right, we had a lower low, right, relative to this. I guess we didn't have a lower low. We just had like a low relative to this. I'm not taking the scam wick. This high here, we had a lower low. This high here, lower low. This high here, lower low. Now we formed a higher low. If this high can form another higher low, now we can actually take out some of these highs, contest these highs. We can look to break out of this trend altogether. I think that's what we're setting up for. The fact that we rejected here, and this is the first time we didn't get a lower low, I'm not anticipating we get a lower low here. And because it's such a small range, I would imagine we consolidate. Maybe we consolidate all week here because because it is Christmas week. Traders, venture capitalists, hedge fund managers, trading desks, they're all away. They're all on holiday, right? So this week is not going to be, they're getting set up for Christmas. They're hanging out with their family. They're getting set up for their New Year's Eve parties and festivities. They're going to get crazy. They're not going to be at their desks. I imagine that we'll probably just move sideways and be boring for the next week. And then maybe after Christmas we start to rally. Maybe it's January that we start to rally. We really could consolidate for the rest of the month here in this area. But I do assume one way or another that we are not going to break out below this low here and that we will break out to the upside. I personally would be a little bit surprised if it was January that we started to move up. It could take that long. Maybe it is January. I would assume that before the new year, we do break out of this. We do see higher prices. We are, if not at 004 or higher, we're at least on our way there. We're at least breaking above these levels here, above 0032. I would think that probably does happen sometime after this week, though. Right? No later than the first week of January, but I would think no earlier than after Christmas, maybe. Anyways, those are just my thoughts. I don't really have anything else that I want to say. RSI is at a point where we typically reject. You have higher highs in the RSI, but lower highs in the price. Hidden bearish divergence to a certain degree. I guess you have a higher high here and a higher high there, in all fairness, but kind of. It's still like hidden bearish divergence, and you're still at these areas that you typically reject from. So reject, find support, don't get oversold. Show that you want to get into the overbought zone. Stochastics could tie up here a little bit. You found resistance in this area, just above, just below, plenty of time. So yeah, you can do the same thing here. And the MACD technically is bearish overall. But there are some bullish things to look forward to. When these oscillators cross above the zero, which if we continue at this kind of pace, again, might be early January or the very, very last days of this month, that should go hand in hand with this next move up whenever we break out. So a little bit of consolidation here and then moving up. I'm seeing it all over the board. I wouldn't be surprised if you were due for a boring week, but we'll see how it goes. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. We're at 0028 now. I think we're going to go down to 00275 or more likely 00265 to 263, somewhere in that range, and then recover, and then we'll be moving up higher. Yeah. Hit the like button. Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.